I've got to hand it to Bioware. They sure know how to get us ridiculously excited over a whole lot of nothing. Greetings, Spacefarers, I'm Michael, and for the first time here on MTJ Disorder, I am going to bring you a speculative breakdown of news from the gaming world, specifically centered around the next Mass Effect game. If you're into science fiction gaming and other action adventures, then go ahead and subscribe and like this video for more. Let's get into it. This past week we had N7 Day, an annual celebration for fans of the Mass Effect universe, held oddly enough every November the 7th, and boy did we get so much from this and absolutely nothing at all. The major reveal of the day was this tweet of a short clip with some severely distorted audio, the tweet itself reading, "Happy N7 Day from across the stars. We found this interesting footage you may want to look at a bit more closely." I mean, bravo! How tantalizing was that? It's not a trailer, it's not gameplay footage, or so we think. It's not insight of any kind into just exactly what Bioware is cooking up for us. It's genius. Bioware knows full well that there's millions of us out there just waiting to sink our teeth into any news about the next chapter of our beloved franchise. And here it is. Some intentionally ambiguous and some oddly specific details, all summed up in a 25-second clip of seemingly nothing at all. In my opinion, this is an absolute win from Bioware, given what we know about the development of this game thus far. We know it's still in the very early stages of production, we know elements from both the trilogy and Andromeda will feature, and yet that's pretty much it. Given that there is likely not much to be updated on in the first place, this is a super fun way of letting us know they're working on it and this is what they can tell us. We'll get into what others have already discovered and my own thoughts on the clip in just a moment, but first I'd like to go over the direct updates from the Bioware blog itself, just to get all the official news out of the way before we jump into theorizing and speculation. The first entry is as follows. Since we last spoke about the next Mass Effect game, pre-production development has been proceeding very well. The team, comprised of Mass Effect franchise veterans as well as some amazing new additions to Bioware, has grown steadily. They've been hard at work crafting new characters and locations that you'll love, as well as revisiting many that you'll remember. That's a great start for both those who appreciate nostalgia and those who expect the franchise to move forward into unknown territory. New and familiar faces should ensure the game be faithful to previous entries yet promote innovation. Below this you will find bios on 4 of the announced team members. We have returning Mass Effect veterans Parish Lay as Creative Director and Mike Gamble as Project Director, and introducing Danielle Enns as Senior Development Director and Mary DeMarle as Senior Narrative Director. I look forward to what they can bring. It goes on to say, one day when we're ready, we'll have more to share on the next Mass Effect, so thank you for being a part of this journey with us. It's exceptionally exciting for the team and we'd love to continue sharing glimpses of what we're working on with you in the future. And on today of all days, we also want to honour the legacy that got us here. Millions of you have now experienced Mass Effect Legendary Edition as returning players or for the first time. It means the world to us to see you enjoy our games and become part of this story. Again, really hammering home this idea that they want to honour the legacy but also raise the bar to all new levels. The blog continues to go into details about some N7 Day rewards, such as some Mass Effect themed skins for The Sims 4, new items and promotions in their partnered online stores, and a sale on the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It wraps up with a message from Project Director Mike Gamble. It reads, "In the nearly 15 years since the release of the first Mass Effect, the biggest reason we still love working on it is the warmth, dedication and passion of this community. There are some of you who have been with us through everything. We've grown together, sacrificed Ashley together, faced difficulties together, and laughed until our faces were tired, together. And for those of you who are new to Mass Effect, welcome. I can promise that many years of fun, adventures and characters you'll fall in love with are still ahead." I could be just reading a little too much into that last statement, but that seems to be a hint that returning characters will not be a main focus. It continues, "Regardless of when you joined us, through 4 games and more expansions, I can say with certainty that we're in this because of you, and every N7 Day is a wonderful reminder of that. As we look forward, each week is a fun and exciting challenge for the team. We love bringing this universe to life, and although there's much more we want to share with you, that'll have to be for another time. For now, there is something we want you to have a look at. We've intercepted some strange footage from one of the monitoring stations in known space. It could be nothing, but..." And that is a sweet segue back to the previously mentioned clip that was released as part of the N7 Day celebrations. There was a high-def version available for download, and I know I joked around about how little we were given, but in actuality, for those of us such as myself who are so entrenched into the lore, there is an absolute treasure trove of information here for us to theorize over the months and years to come. Naturally, the first thing we're drawn to is the text in the bottom left corner. Given that it appears to be surveillance data of what we are seeing, it's the most unambiguous part of this clip. It reads, Vacuum Dock Relay Construction Record, monitoring station operated by Green Dagger Limited, property of Deep Space DAO SAV, ship captain Subnavark Soaral Zillion Jones, for interior use only. This is as juicy as it gets. Let's start with Vacuum Dock Relay Construction Record. This is clearly a mass relay under construction, which is astounding for many different reasons, least of all that as far as we knew, relay construction was beyond anyone's knowledge, and something must have changed in regards to our understanding of how the technology works. But the craziest implication here is that reverse engineering a mass relay itself has become a necessity, meaning only one thing. For those who haven't completed the trilogy yet, I will give a quick spoiler alert for the ending of Mass Effect 3 before moving on. You gone yet? Well, if not, it's your own fault. The only ending in Mass Effect 3 which results in absolute destruction of the mass relay network, and I mean that is without any indications of them being repaired by friendly Reapers, is the Destroy ending. Now, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it has long been speculated that for there to be a continuation of the Mass Effect story, as laid down by the 2020 teaser trailer, there must be a canonized ending for Mass Effect 3. And it's looking more and more likely that Destroy is it. From the trailer, we already knew that the mass relays were definitely in bad shape, and we even have audio that pointed towards a partial galaxy-wide collapse of communications and transport. But the fact this video shows that mass relay construction is a thing moving forward with the story all but seals the deal that the network was crippled, thus the Crucible was used to destroy the Reapers. Now, I'm not going to get into what I think about the controversy of canonizing the ending of the original trilogy, that's a topic for another video, but I will say this, if it does happen, I don't believe it's a decision that Bioware would have made lightly. Moving on to monitoring station operated by Green Dagger Limited, property of Deep Space DAO SAV. So Green Dagger Limited is not a corporation we are familiar with. My initial thoughts are this is either just your average Bioware world building or a possible big player in the story of the next game. Perhaps the player character will be working for them in the same vein as Shepard working with Cerberus. Either way, there is an independent contractor involved, possibly funding the project. Then there's the name of the ship's captain, Subnavark Soaral Zillion Jones. Now, most have speculated this is a Quarian with a human surname, but my takeaway from this is that Jones may be referring to a ship name, just without the familiar prefix Vass. Regardless, along with the very Earth-like corporation name, we can gather that at least Quarians and humans are involved in this endeavour. Now at the bottom we can see further details here, with many making the observation that some of these numbers indicate a date, which if correct points towards this being November 7th, 90. So of course it could be the 90th year of any century, sure, but if all other signs point towards this being not long after Mass Effect 3, then this clip is likely taking place in the year 2190, only 4 years after the Reaper War. I don't think there is much to infer from this just yet. This doesn't mean the game will take place in 2190, but it's still a very interesting detail to know we are already trying to rebuild so soon after the war. So that is the surface level information we get from this clip, but thanks to some incredibly prompt and astute attention to details, Twitter user Cody Lawrence, a very passionate fan of Mass Effect, made this exceptional post on N7 Day in regards to the HD version of the clip that was available. He writes, when you download the file and look at what they named it, it says SA Intercept Cytherium System Doc 314. SA stands for Systems Alliance, looks like humans intercepted something in Cytherium system, hasn't been mentioned before. Doc 314, Relay 314 incident? It was the First Contact War. To unpack this further, Relay 314 was a dormant relay leading to uncharted star systems. Humans went to this relay to activate it and the Turians detected them. The First Contact War resulted. Did we finally use this dormant relay and it led us to this in the Cytherium system? Is the Cytherium system a link to Andromeda? Did Milky Way humans intercept a relay that shoots us to Andromeda? That's a lot of questions, Cody. So my personal opinion on the extent of Andromeda's involvement in the next game is that it will be relatively limited, or at most a small driving force behind some of the plot. This is an excellent observation by Cody, but I do think his reasoning toward how this connects to Andromeda isn't particularly clear. There's no indication that the Cytherium system has anything to do with Andromeda at all, and I feel that this is just wishful thinking. Now, we do know Bioware has explicitly stated Andromeda will tie in somehow, but my assumption behind the connection with Relay 314 and the Cytherium system will be more to do with how we have suddenly figured out how to build a mass relay and not Andromeda. Moving on to the footage itself, there is some great familiar Mass Effect imagery on display. The relay is gorgeous, looking very much like what we would expect if a race of, quote, primitives were trying their hand in relay construction. Similar enough for us to be able to identify it as one, but different enough to distinguish it from one built by the Reapers. Also, there's markings MR7, which I don't want to jump the gun here necessarily, but this likely signifies that this is Mass Relay 7. 7 of what exactly? I know most of you assume this means there are multiple relays under construction out there, but I float out the possibility that this particular relay could be attempt number 7, indicating that there may have been 6 failed prior attempts to building this one. This certainly could make for some excellent intrigue and drama from a story perspective. There are also several ships in the video, with some displaying yet more of that familiarity, the biggest culprit being this one right here, with the engine trails that are very much like the Normandy or the Tempest. Now, I don't personally think this is the Normandy, but it could very well be the ship we've seen in previous teasers and the posters. There also appears to be what look like freighters, or could perhaps be construction ships. I've seen some people point out that these particular vessels right here bear a resemblance to the Arks from Andromeda with the 4 fins on the stern, which is another cool observation, but I personally don't see that as being very likely. At this point, it's anyone's guess, which is exactly what Bioware intended. As for the planet below, there's no indication where this could be, other than the possibility of it being a planet in the aforementioned Cytherium system. This would be my best guess, and in my opinion far more interesting than for it to be somewhere we are familiar with, like say Earth or Mars or even one of the Citadel Council homeworlds. I'm sure we're going to learn about what happened to those worlds in the end product. The Citadel was last seen in Earth orbit after all, but this would be a textbook example of where the game should be taking a fresh path. Moving on to the audio, there's probably more here to unpack than there was with the visuals. Again, some excellent detective work from users on Twitter found some exciting discoveries. Queenie Wren tweets, "So, I can't control myself, and after throwing the audio into a spectrogram visualizer and coming up short, I decided to take a look at the raw metadata of the .mov file in Notepad++, and there is some interesting stuff in here. First of all, there's mentions to our favourite Blue Lady again, mentioning something called Test 5, unsurprising considering teaser footage released. This isn't much of a revelation, as we already knew from the teaser that Liara would be making a return. Queenie continues to dig further, however, saying, "One of the other ingredients specifically states that there's a hidden mix on a 5-second loop, likely the crackling sound in the accompanying audio. I've no idea how to try and isolate what exactly is hidden in the audio, but maybe someone better in the know can get a start." And wouldn't you know it, some audio expert enthusiasts out there successfully isolated this hidden mix, and these were the results.
I can see it. How did we miss this? Exactly. The Council will be furious. Although they should know by now not to underestimate human defiance. Perhaps was their most endearing trait.
If you're having a hard time hearing it, this is basically what I and most others have deciphered. It's clearly a back and forth between Liara and what sounds like Geth programs. The supposed Geth voice is not translated, but Liara can be heard saying, "I can see it. Exactly. The Council will be furious. Of course, they always did underestimate human defiance. It always was their most redeeming trait." There's not a lot to take away from the text, but reading between the lines, we can ascertain that Liara is probably still the Shadow Broker, investigating this mass relay construction. Possibly this Green Dagger Corporation is doing it behind the Council's back. Either way, there is already the seeds of some drama, and it at the very least involves humans, Quarians, Geth, and as of this audio excerpt, an oblivious Council. Nothing's changed there, it seems. And so it appears the major mystery to be solved was in fact this audio file, as Mike Gamble confirmed the transcript with this tweet, although they should know by now not to underestimate human defiance. Liara to Sony, Doctor, Shadow Broker, and redacted. Make of that what you will. I suggest the obvious, that it's still somewhat of a secret that she is the Shadow Broker. There could also be some new interesting developments, perhaps she is now some sort of high up Asari official, or maybe even a Spectre. Who knows? He also attached a piece of concept art to the tweet, which is so far my favourite reveal from the N7-Day Fun. I could spend weeks overanalyzing this, but the major takeaways for me are that this is likely an Asari world given the architecture bearing resemblance to that of Thessia and Ilium. This also kind of reveals a little more about the time period of the game, given that Scission Motors Skycars are still in mass use. We can also see the retail outlet Solar Electronics is still in business. You may remember seeing them in places such as the Omega markets. Good for them. But perhaps the most interesting takeaway is that our Turian and Solarian friends here are wearing what appears to be respirators, indicating that this world's atmosphere might not be as safe as it once was. Maybe it's the new planet in the Cytherium system. Again, so much information, yet so little. Now, lastly, as far as what can be found in the download file of the video clip itself is this final piece of spine-tingling information that says only Originator Reaper. Now, I don't think this means we're going to see the return of the Reapers as the main villains. That would A, be way too predictable, and B, kind of a cop-out. But nonetheless, little details like this could point to how the new adventure in the next game might be incited by lasting effects from the destruction of the Reapers. This would be an excellent way of acknowledging that legacy without digging up the corpse. So what's my takeaway from all of this? That really, we know nothing in regards to what to ultimately expect from the end product, which is fantastic. These are positive signs that Bioware are not rushing this as they may have done in the past. What theories do I have beyond what I've already mentioned? Well, I'm going to save that for another video. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Did this year's N7 Day sufficiently satiate you? Did it leave you wanting more? All of the above? I'd really like to know what your takeaways are as well. Thanks for watching. For more Mass Effect and related content, please give this video a like, share and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon to be informed of the next video. Keyless alive, my friends, and until next time,
I should go.